Welcome back. It's Niche, and we're back with another episode of Laughing and Crying. If you don't know me, I am doing a podcast on love, marriage, and everything in between, and we're here to get into it, okay? Have you guys ever had a day where everything is just like going kind of crazy, like where you just feel off your game? That's kind of the day I'm having, where I just feel off my game. I wasn't feeling the best earlier today. I rested a lot, which is good self-care, you know what I mean? But I just felt off, so bear with me. And I'm just kind of getting back to feeling like myself, so thank you for sticking in there and still supporting and all that. But I'm back, so here we go. How I'm going to kick off this episode by just a little game, if you will, called One Gotta Go. And this is a One Gotta Go comedian edition. So, for my first category, I have 4 comedians who have a little less melanin, but still funny all the same. And that's Seth Rogen, Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, and Jim Carrey. Okay. So the premise of One Gotta Go is basically in the name. That means that they go, all of their work goes, all of their impact goes, but you're okay with it. And so today we're trying to figure out which one gotta go. And I'm going to give my opinion because it's my podcast, whatever. So out of Seth Rogen, Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell, and Jim Carrey, one gotta go. Well, let me tell you who has to stay. Solely because if this piece of work goes, I would be devastated at Christmas time. And that's Elf. Elf can't go. Therefore, Will Ferrell can't go because Elf is one of the best Christmas movies of all time. At me. Okay? Meet me outside. Whatever you gotta do. Will Ferrell has to stay. So that's like hands down. I'm trying to think. Let me think. Seth Rogen. Okay, here we go. Seth Rogen has to stay. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I could tell you guys out there, podcast land, are doubting your girl. And you're like, Seth Rogen? No, I don't care. The reason that Seth Rogen has to stay is because one of my favorite TV shows almost of all time, he was a part of. And that's Freaks and Geeks. And if you have not heard of Freaks and Geeks, you're missing out. And you need to fix your life. Freaks and Geeks is one of the best shows of all time. Seth Rogen plays Ken Miller on Freaks and Geeks. The show wouldn't be the show without him. He brings the dry humor. It's probably one of his first works. I'm actually confirming it right now. Let's see. Yep. Here we go. 1999-2000. Freaks and Geeks was Seth Rogen's first breakthrough in his acting career. And I don't think he would be the comedian that he is now if he didn't get his start on Freaks and Geeks. So for all of those reasons and more, I don't believe that Seth Rogen can go. I love dry humor. Like, of all of these comedians, Seth Rogen has the driest of the humor. And so he has to stay. Because he's representing for my type of humor. Who's left? Jim Carrey. So Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell, and Adam Sandler all have goofy humor, which is not my cup of tea. But we've already decided because of Elf Will stays, because of Freaks and Geeks, Seth Rogen stays. So it's between Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler who goes. Okay. Adam Sandler. He has like 8 Crazy Nights and what does he have that's even good? 50 First Dates is like one of my favorite movies. Not favorite, but like it's really good and cute. Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore might take the cake. Him yelling at the golf ball and Happy Gilmore will always be like iconic. Okay, no more that like jumps out at me. Jim Carrey. Besides In Living Color, which I could live without his part in that In Living Color. Liar, Liar. Oh no! Wait. He did The Grinch. The Grinch is probably one of the best Christmas movies as well, next to Elf. What am I doing to life? Okay, guys, I think The Grinch has to stay. I gotta get rid of Adam Sandler. Okay, Adam Sandler's gotta go. Bye. That's all I can say. May the force be with you. All right, next 4 comedians. It will be Bernie Mac. These are my more melanated counterparts. Bernie Mac, rest in peace. Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart. Bernie Mac stays, period. 100% period. Don't add me. I don't care what you have to say. Bernie Mac show, stand-up, Kings of Comedy. He stays, period. With Martin Lawrence, we're talking about Martin, the TV show. We got Big Mama's House. Okay, so we got Bad Boys with him and Will Smith. We have Roscoe Jenkins. We have Eddie Murphy. You're talking about Nutty Professor. He's also the donkey in Shrek. You can't get rid of the donkey in Shrek. Like, those are some iconic lines. He's also Coming to freaking America. Now, Coming to America is a movie I watched recently. But I watched it recently, and I actually have a special place in my heart for it now. But it's not something that would make me not eliminate Eddie Murphy. So we got that. We got the PJs, which is one of my favorite shows when I was younger. The PJs. Mushu? He was Mushu in Mulan. Mushu Lu makes Mulan. Yeah. He played Norbit. And let's just say, Norbit is me and Dre's favorite movie to watch together. So unfortunately, guys, for those of you who thought, this is easy, let's eliminate Eddie Murphy, he stays. So we got Bernie Mac. We got Eddie Murphy. The last. You know what, let's be real. I'm not going to keep you long. Kevin Hart can go. Probably the best in his time for how he came out, blew up, and literally became the iconic comedian that he is. However, maybe it was unfair to put him next to all those greats because maybe he has not had time to build his collection of great works like these other people have. He can't stand up next to him. May the odds forever be in your favor, Kevin Hart. You got to go. Okay, so that was fun. We have a great show. What I want to talk to you guys about this week is giving up. Because I literally wanted to give up on this podcast. So, shout out to Kevin and Melissa. I have a podcast that I listen to that has just inspired me to go deeper in my thought processes as it pertains to analyzing yourself. And one of the topics they talked about is something called Imposter Syndrome. I don't know how many of you guys out there know what Imposter Syndrome is, but it's something that holds you back. And I was joking, but being serious about how that's made me be like, you know what? I ain't got to deal with this. I can quit now. But the reality is, finding out what imposter syndrome is pretty dope. And what I wanted to do today was go through 5 different versions of the imposter that can show up in us as humans and can get us to the point where we want to quit. And so I'm going to read a couple definitions. One of the definitions is what an imposter is. So the proper definition of imposter is a person who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others especially for fraudulent gain. So let's break that down. So a person who pretends to be someone else. So that is the whole idea of the imposter syndrome, is that you believe that you're pretending to be someone who you're really not. And then in order to deceive others, so you believe that inside of yourself, you're deceiving the people, the onlookers, the people who experience you, because you don't believe you are who you say you are. Okay, and then for fraudulent gain, so whatever you're gaining, whether it be recognition, a paycheck, a friend, a relationship, whatever it is, you believe you're someone who you're really not, and you're deceiving the other people around you for gaining whatever you're gaining from whatever you're choosing to be or do. So that's intense. Deceiving others, feeling like you're someone you're not. And I hope I'm doing it justice, all my therapists out there in podcast land. Imposter syndrome is, in short, insecurities that affect your confidence when achieving what you set out to do. So insecurities that you have that affect your confidence when you set out to achieve something. Now, maybe you can see where I've been struggling. Because I'm really out here like, nobody wants to hear from me. Nobody wants to hear me talk. And this is like really hard to say because I'm trying to be honest about how I feel like I'm an imposter. But the feedback that I've been getting has been, Nisha, you have an experience and a life that it only makes sense that you have a platform in which you share your experience with other people so that they can gain something from the wisdom you've acquired from going through what you've been through. And for me, that is so hard to grasp. And I don't know if you're checking in with yourself right now. I don't know if you're feeling the weight of that. And I want to talk about imposter syndromes as it pertains to relationships, whether it be friendships or marriage or dating. And I want to kind of zone in and lean into how it affects our confidence walking into the world. The 5 imposter syndrome categories that I have learned are the perfectionist, the soloist, the superhero, the expert is number 4, and the natural genius is number 5. So let's start out with the perfectionist, because I'm going to go easy on myself because it's not one of the ones that I feel like I relate to. So we're not even going to jump into the ones that, burn my soul. Anyways, moving forward. The perfectionists are the people who have to do everything very, very well, have to do it to a high degree. If one thing is wrong, if I miss one thing, if I don't check off one box, I failed. And an example is if you get a 9 out of 10 on a quiz, you feel like you failed. You weren't good enough. You should have tried more. You should have did better. If you get second place, it wasn't first. You know what I mean? Anything less than perfection is not deemed praiseworthy. These people usually end up being categorized as control freaks, people who micromanage. You have a great difficulty delegating. And when you do delegate, you're always or normally frustrated with the results of delegating tasks out because you feel like if you would have done it, you would have put the effort into the task to make sure it was perfect. And if someone didn't put the effort into the task to make it perfect, that they let you down or didn't do what they were supposed to do. Yeah. And like if you're a perfectionist, what normally happens if you miss an insanely high bar that you have for yourself, you kind of accuse yourself of not being cut out. And you ruminate and sit in it for so long that you end up discouraging yourself or overwhelming yourself, and you miss the fun. Like, you miss the fun of growth. And let's look at this in terms of relationship. How can this affect us in relationships? Like, I think, especially coming from the relationship that is marriage, guys, what can we ruin by thinking that if you don't get it 100% right, like, you failed? You know what? And I'm about to like get choked up because I keep saying I don't struggle with this. But I think that if I'm just going to be honest, wow, is that what we're doing here? If I'm just going to be honest, I came from a background of a lot of divorce. I witnessed it. I've been in the space of my parents as they've gotten divorced, as they've chosen divorce. Other family members of mine have gotten divorced. And I think I walked into my marriage thinking, I have to make sure that everything looks nice and neatly packaged. Because if anything doesn't look nice and neatly packaged, I failed. And I'm going to get a divorce. So when Dre and I started having our conflict and rubbing up against each other in a way that caused friction, I think I internalized that we didn't check off every box. We weren't the couple that had the most compatibility. We were not the couple that, just the best honeymoon period. We weren't the couple who were lovey, super dovey. So this must be failing. Let me do everything in my power to fix it. And I always looked at not being perfect as one thing being wrong. And one thing being slightly wrong. Like, you know how you get a spelling mistake on your test and your teacher takes off like a half a point, like in school? Like, that's what I thought not being perfect was. Like, you got 9.5 out of 10. And that 0.5 of not being perfect just means you're human. But you should be getting 9.5. And if you don't get 9.5, something's wrong with your marriage. It's gonna fail. Wow, I look back on my relationships, not just romantically, but even friendship-wise, and some of the best relationships that I have weren't perfect and had to be worked at. And I just think that, man, what a disservice are we doing to ourselves and our relationships by expecting our relationships to be perfect and nothing to blow up. You could be getting 1 out of 10, and it doesn't mean that 1 isn't worth celebrating. Like, there were points in time where Dre and I were getting 1 out of 10. Like, we were, quote unquote, failing, but I spent so much time hyper-focusing on what we didn't get right that I neglected the fact that I could be celebrating what we did get right. Because here's the thing. Some of the stuff that we got right, other people spend their whole lives trying to get right. So in your relationship, friendship, marriage, whatever, is there something that you can say, man, me and such, we get this right? Celebrate that. If you're really good parents, if you guys know how to laugh your tail off, people spend their whole lives trying to get on the same page. If you have a friend that wherever you guys go, you can have fun, make memories and have fun, like, celebrate that. For each of these imposters, I have like a bit of encouragement, all from, the research I've done of what do you tell somebody who struggles with that specific imposter category. And for this one, it's celebrate achievement. Like, celebrate it. We all F up. And if there's an imposter that's stopping you from doing that next thing, from getting that next job, from, hey, starting a podcast, from starting your business, it doesn't have to be perfect for you to start. It doesn't have to be perfect because you started. It doesn't have to be perfect when you're knee deep in it. Okay, I'm not going to take too much time. I'm getting a little preachy. Okay. So the next one is the soloist. Another one. Let me not even say that anymore, because I think I have a little bit of all of these. And this imposter says they have to do everything by themselves. And they feel like if you have any help, that it takes away your contribution. It takes away the value of their involvement. They feel like needing help is a sign of failure. Here's the deep part, right? The whole idea of imposter syndrome is that you feel phony, right? You feel like you're someone you're not. And so they feel like when they ask for help that it reveals their phoniness. Like they're not even supposed to be in that position that they're in. So if they ask for help, it somehow makes them unqualified to be in that position. This is the part that makes me hurt. Those people out there who truly do identify with the soloist, that you connect your worth with your ability to never need help. And that is so isolating. Like the whole idea of the imposter, the whole trick of the enemy is to get you to believe that you can only be valuable if you're doing everything without asking for help. You know, the piece of encouragement for the soloist is that there's no shame in asking for help. And the other piece of the encouragement for the soloist is there's a flip side to this. A lot of people who are a soloist believe that they can't ask for help because other people will judge them for asking for help. But this person that I listened to, Stephen Lewis, he said, and he is a LMFT therapist, really great insight type of human. He said, if you cannot ask for help without self-judgment, you're never really offering help without judgment, because you've attached judgment to asking for help. Which I think is like, what? Like basically, if you attach judgment to asking for help, when you give help, what you may not realize is that subconsciously you're judging someone else for asking you for help, even if you don't mean to. Because you see it as a sign of unworthiness and phoniness. And I just really want to encourage the people, like, how much more could you be doing, especially when you talk about relationships, being a soloist? How many of you are in relationships who feel like, if I go to a therapist, that's it, I fail, I don't really belong in this relationship, in this marriage. If I go to a friend, a trusted friend, if I tell them what I'm struggling with in my marriage, guys, been there, done that. You need therapy. You need wisdom. You need help. If you're going to do marriage, if you're going to even do friendship, you need help. Because it's a marriage and friendship and relationship is an overflow of who you already are. You can't give anything to anybody that you don't already have. You know, that's my encouragement to the soloists. And then we're moving along. I'm affected. I know that someone out there in podcast land is affected. This is hard stuff. Right, so the next one is the superhero. This imposter feels value by being busy. Whatever they feel like they can do the most of, if they're running around with a chicken with their head cut off, if they're like, I got this, somebody asks them to do something, they know their calendar's full, they're going to shove it in, they're going to make another commitment. The person who wants to feel busy, they want to do it all. Their value is tied to what they're able to produce. I know that when I first got married, I'm going to create systems for our home so that we're organized. I'm going to make sure the house stays clean. I'm going to never forget anything. I'm going to make sure the bed's made every day. Because if I could produce all of those things, then I'm a better wife. And not just a better wife. I think that I struggled with that before I was even married. Even with my friends, I'm like, I got to hang out with everybody every week. I got to make sure I call everybody. I got to make sure I keep up with whatever everybody's doing. I got to make sure. And it's just, that doesn't make you a better friend, Nisha. That doesn't make you a better wife, Nish. Like, and you're exhausted. Like, if you're someone out there who is listening to this and you're like, man, I am not a perfectionist. I don't care. But I am exhausted. You're probably a superhero. And the reality is, it's like you tie your worth to you being able to do more than the next person. And you might not even be doing it well. Like, that's what I struggled with. So if you're the type of person who finds downtime completely wasteful, like you're like, why am I sitting? I gotta be up doing something. I gotta be, making cookies for the neighbor's retirement from their job or whatever. You probably suffer from superhero syndrome. I'm just here to tell you that your validation doesn't come from how hard you work or how much you work. It just really doesn't. And then the reality also is that you feel like the validation comes from how hard you work and how much you work, but it's not even in the work itself. Like, what are you doing even? And I don't mean that in a condescending way or patronizing way, because I'm kind of talking to myself. What I was doing just like didn't add up. Like, you only have 100% energy, right? And if you use 90% energy doing all of these things that don't really matter just so you feel more important, and you only have 10% left for your husband, for your kids, for your friends, for your hobby that you just are so in love with, the life you living, it's not going to fulfill you. Edit what you're doing. It's an imposter, guys. And so my encouragement for the superhero is nurture your inner confidence that states you are competent and skilled. You do not have to prove your worth by doing everything. For the people who suffer from being the soloist and the superhero, so you're doing everything by yourself? Yeah, it's tough. But like I said, my encouragement for the superhero, my encouragement for myself, nurture your inner confidence that states you are competent and skilled. You do not have to do everything. And ask yourself, how much work is reasonable? Okay, next one. The expert. This is where I struggle. Okay? This is one of the ones I struggle hard. The next two, all niche. Like, you can at me all day, because the next ones are all me. So the expert is someone who measures their confidence and worth on how much they know. They're the smarty pants, I like knowledge, but when it gets to the point where you start to measure your worth, like, if I don't know this, if I don't have all the information, I'm stupid. I shouldn't be doing this. I don't deserve to be in this position. That's the time where this particular imposter kicks in. This person fears being exposed as inexperienced or not knowledgeable. That's me. Like, I'm terrified to death for you guys to think that I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't. And how that shows up in relationships, I literally read every marriage book. I've read all of these books on, like, how to make friends and influence people, 5 love languages, his needs, her needs. If there's a conference, I'm going. If there's an online course, I'm taking it. I don't want to be in a situation where I am going to feel like I don't belong here because I don't know as much as everybody else. The expert is somebody who, like I said, measures their confidence and worth on how much they know, shudders when someone refers to them as an expert. Like, guys, I'm a trained chef, and anytime somebody calls me a chef, I'm like, no, don't call me that. Because I don't know as much as the next person, and I don't know as much as chef such and such. That's what I do. For my expert imposters out there, you are an expert in something. Let it sink in. What makes the person that you've been admiring more of an expert than you are? Don't minimize your knowledge or expertise in the name of humility. What's humble is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So if you're someone who is thinking of others and is compassionate and who is loving and who is making sure that you're taking care of the people around you, if you're not putting other people down for what they're doing or not doing, you're humble. What doesn't make you humble is putting yourself down. That's not humility. What I will say there to the expert is do things for fun. Stop putting the pressure on yourself to be ready for every situation and go into a situation trying to do it for fun. Like this podcast for me. Embrace your inexperience. Challenge yourself to only learn something when you need to know it. You can walk into that season of life and not know what you're doing and it be okay. And you know what? I look up to my experts. I look up to all these people, right? These qualities have a space and a threshold in which they are good qualities to have. I'm going to move on. Okay, and the last and final one is the natural genius. Another one that I particularly struggle for. So, be kind to me. So the natural genius is someone that bases their competence on the ease and speed of their accomplishments versus their efforts. So somebody who says, I am competent because of how easy and how fast I can learn something, not by how hard I work. Is someone that bases their competence on the ease and speed of their accomplishments versus their efforts. If it takes longer to master something for the natural genius, they feel shame or they give up. That's why the podcast is called I Give Up. Because I'm a natural genius who feels like things should come easy to me. And I don't mean that by like puffing myself up like I'm a natural genius. What I'm saying is I have lived a life where I've felt that things usually come easy to me. Especially relationships, guys. Yeah, let's break it down. Relationships, I am somebody who is an extrovert. I am somebody who is super friendly, who doesn't really meet a stranger. And so when I run into relationships that I can't figure out very quickly, when I can't figure that person out very quickly, I automatically either feel like that person doesn't need to be in my life, or I'm doing it wrong and I'm hurting this person, so I'm just going to distance myself from this person. And it's destroyed a lot for me, guys. I've just opened up this whole can of vulnerability today. I was just used to excelling, especially in relationships, without much effort. When, I have a friend who always tells me, I admire you for how well you can do relationships because I struggle so much with just beginning them. I, meaning her, she struggles so much beginning the relationships and keeping them up. And she sees me and it feels so effortless. And even for me, it feels so effortless. But the reality is, it's just not. Because my marriage to my husband, let me move in a little closer. My marriage to my husband was not effortless. And how many times I wanted to quit because of it. Like, I'm being real with y'all. How many times I tried to quit because it did not come easy to me is ridiculous. So I was talking to my sister, and she was telling me that there's a study that was done, and shout out to Carol Dweck. She's a professor at Stanford, and she did this study on students, and it ties into the natural genius imposters quite well. She did a study on intelligence being a fixed trait versus a trait that can be improved. And what she found out is students who think that intelligence is a fixed trait, they avoid learning challenges where they might make mistakes. So they're afraid of messing up. They try to hide mistakes rather than trying to correct them. Come on, somebody. I need somebody out in podcast land to be feeling what I'm feeling, because the conviction is real. Like, it's giving, why did I even start this conversation? But they believe that if they have the ability, they shouldn't have to try hard, or if they apply a lot of effort, it means they're dumb. They don't deal well with frustration and setbacks, and sometimes give up or cheat. You still there? Because I don't know if I am. They're not going to read me. Because the whole idea of the natural genius imposter is they believe that intelligence is a fixed trait. It doesn't change. If you're smart then, you'll be smart now. If you know how to do it then, you'll know how to do it now. And if you don't, it's not something necessarily wrong with you. It's something wrong with the thing. It's something wrong with that job. It's something wrong with that friendship. It's something wrong with that marriage. And this should be easy. Bruh. If I wasn't trying so hard, I'd cry. Like, I am riddled with this mindset. Right, so in this whole study, there were these students who believe in growth. So they care about and invest themselves in learning. They believe that effort is a positive thing because their intelligence can grow. They try hard in the face of frustration and failure, and they look for new learning strategies. So, they had two sets of students. Both sets of students were doing the same activity, and it was equally challenging, but it was on their level, so to speak. And for one of the students, they were praised for being smart. You're so smart. Gosh, I wish I was as smart as you. Wow. You're just so unbelievably intelligent. Wow, look at you. The other set of students were praised because they worked so hard. Wow, look how much effort you're putting into this. Look how hard you're trying. Wow, look how much you've improved over time. And then they took the same sets of students, gave them a harder challenge, and just saw how they responded. And so the students who were praised for their effort ended up stepping up to the next challenge and choosing that they wanted to step up to the next challenge and do whatever that new challenge was. And the students that were praised for intelligence turned down the next challenge because they wanted to continue to get praised, or they didn't want to mess up the praise of how smart they were. They wanted to keep that view of self. They could have been just as smart as the other students and knocked that challenge out of the water, but they were so afraid of losing their sense of self and their validation and their worthiness that they chose to stay where they were. Like, shout out Carol Dweck, shout out my sister for that illustration, because it just makes me think about this even the more and realize how much we can just really stop ourselves from doing great things. Like, I was so scared, and sometimes still am, that I married the wrong person because it didn't come easy to me to work things out. And we have a story that, don't get me wrong, is hard and is challenging in, in all the places where somebody probably wouldn't want to be challenged. But we have a story that's going to impact so many people. But at some point, and it's in some intervals and stages and times, I've been willing to give up. And I avoid trying things I'm not good at. And I almost didn't get married at all because I just knew that I wasn't going to be good at it. I was convinced. And I feel the same way about being a mom. Wow. I'm getting deep. This is too much vulnerability. Man, what an imposter. What an imposter. So, the encouragement to the natural genius is to see yourself as a work in progress, as opposed to seeing yourself as a finished project. That's deep. Understand that when you ward off things you're not good at, you'll never truly know what you could be good at. And guys, listen, for those of you who are like, I never saw a good marriage, I've never had a friend outside of high school and college that I kept. I still haven't lost the weight. It's just not easy for me to do that. So why do I even try? Embrace the learning curve. Even though you are someone who usually gets it usually clicks for you, embrace the learning curve. I laugh because it's the part of the show where I ask you how you feel. So how you feel? I'm not going to answer that question because I feel a little torn up on the insides. And I feel like you guys are robbing me of my soul by even listening to me go through this junk. Okay? No, I'm kidding. It's not junk. But I feel exposed. And it's real. But anyway, I still want to know how you feel. Which imposter are you? Are you a little bit of all of them? Are you just like one standing out more than others? I want to know. So we talked about the comedians that could never go anywhere. And we talked about the imposters. And those, once again, were the perfectionist, the soloist, the superhero, the expert, and the natural genius. Give me some feedback. And as you guys know, you can do that on Unleashthaneesh.com. That's Niche.com. You can comment there. Or, of course, you can always email at laugh@unleashthaneesh.com. That's laugh@unleashthaneesh.com. Don't forget, you can join the Patreon, be a part of the Niche gang. Sign up. We got exclusive content over there. And you know what? Maybe we can impact the world or something. I don't know. I'll leave you with that. Bye!